What's happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Park Lane Podcast, episode number 85, which is brought to you by our good friends at Manscaped. Head over to manscaped.com where you can find all of your manscaping needs and use the code ParkLane20. That's ParkLane20 for 20% off plus free shippings. Interesting. That's if you buy multiple products, I suppose. Anyway. Let's get into it because we do have a full house today. And I'll start with you, Mr. Callum Stubbs. How are you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm all right, mate. I'm actually happy for once on here, so that's a positive. Let's put it that way.
Wow. What a day to be alive. Mr. Scarf, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Nice to be back talking about Spurs win, a clean sheet, and Europa League football next season. So all good. Looking forward to getting into it.
Amazing. And Dave, how are you?
Wonderful, mate. Wonderful.
Good. And a little birdie tells me that you've got an announcement before the end of the show.
I do, yeah. Just keep your ears peeled for that because it's going to be a good one. Well, I think it's a good one anyway.
Amazing. And Winnie, how are you?
Yeah, all good, mate. I've had a good day. I've had a solid day. The sun's shining. Drinks have been flowing. I went to a food festival, had lots of good food. So it's all good, mate. It sounds like a good day, doesn't it?
You do look like you're half cut, mate. Your eyes are looking a little bit glazed over.
Apologies in advance for the shit that I chat, even though I chat shit anyway.
Chat shit.
Yeah.
Chat shit.
Amazing.
Let's just move on,
right.
shall we?
Yeah, exactly. Let's get cracking and let's talk about Manchester City. You know, I feel like it was weeks ago now that this happened, even though it was literally this week. There was so much build-up, Callum, to the Man City game, and so much build-up to like how Spurs fans should feel when it comes to this game, and what happens if we win, what happens if we lose, blah blah blah. All in all, we lost 2-0, right? Yeah. Let me know what your thoughts were on the game in total.
On the game in total, I think we actually played well. And I think that it was quite interesting to potentially start seeing a plan B option, which we've all been calling out for. But in the build-up to the game, it was really weird. Obviously, all of us, even on here last Sunday when we were speaking about it, we were all quite split on our views. And X was the same. Some wanted a win, some wanted to lose to make sure Arsenal didn't get the title. So it really did divide the fan base. But I think from the game point of view, we set up well. We actually dominated City and we had the chances to actually win it. But I did think that there was a section of the fan base, even in the stadium, when doing the Poznan or something like that, that kind of really, it riled quite a few people up, and it obviously riled Ange up because we all saw him arguing with the fans behind the dugout, everything like that. But no, I enjoyed watching it, to be fair, because City were far from their best. We looked probably the best we did in the last couple of months, and it just turned out that Ortega turned into prime Neuer in his sub appearance that he came on to be the goalkeeper of the season, and how he got man of the match within 20 minutes of being on was beyond me. But it was one of them ones where we played well. We stopped Arsenal winning the league. City weren't their best, but it just really riled up a lot of fans. And I was speaking to different people this week, and a lot of people were happy. A lot of people were pissed as well, to be honest. And Ange was far from happy either in every press conference this week.
Yeah, talking about that, Harry, like what did not kind of like your thoughts right now, but what were your thoughts at the time in terms of Ange Postecoglou's press conference? Because yes, he wasn't very happy. You know, some of it we're told is down to some of the coaching staff laughing and joking, you know, when it comes to certain things. Look, who knows what it was, right? The game's over, we lost. But like, what were your thoughts on his comments in general?
Well, he wasn't happy and I wasn't happy with him. It was as simple as that. I think that his comments were not justified. I think he sounded out of touch. And someone who's been part of, for me, the biggest rivalry in the world in Celtic and Rangers just sounded very, very out of touch, because we would have known that his Celtic side were, him or not is a different story. But his Celtic side or Rangers would have been in that exact situation, would have done what the majority of Spurs fans would have done. And I'm actually going to disagree with Callum. I don't think the fan base was split at all. I think it was 99%, 99-1, if you like, in terms of we were all behind Manchester City. You've got the odd couple of individuals. Callum, you're one of them yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. But generally, a lot of people were behind Manchester City, myself included. Ange has a job to do. We expect him to go, we've got to go out there and win the game. We've got to be professional. But some of the, I felt like it was a dig towards the fans. I felt it was unnecessary. Obviously, a lot's come out from that since. But I think that he got it wrong. And as we may get on to, I think he admitted that.
Yeah, it's interesting, Dave, isn't it? Because, he talked about a few things, really. And one of the things, was he said the foundations are really fragile, in terms of this football club. He also, one thing he said was like talking about walking through the corridors and seeing like images of people from like 30 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like, these are the winners. And it was a little bit shitty of him, but also, like, we'll talk about it in a minute when we find out, like, kind of his reasons why. This, before the Sheffield United game, you can understand why he's a bit shitty to some degree.
No, I can't, actually. And the reason I can't is I know we are going to come on to the reasons he gave. And, if you want to stop another team winning, then win. Mate, we lost 5 in the last 6. We didn't turn up against Chelsea. We didn't turn up against Arsenal. We didn't turn up against Liverpool or Newcastle. In fact, we got battered by all of them. And a time when, had we have turned up in those games previously, that City game might not have had so much bearing on, if we win, we could get Champions League, etc., etc., etc. The reality of it is he's out of touch in terms of what the fans wanted. The fans wanted the fight we showed against City for the last 6 weeks. The fans wanted him to change his tactics for the last 6 weeks. But in a game where fans are so, we don't want us to win the league, we've got nothing to play for, he then decides to do all that stuff, play Van der Ven at left back or whatever, change the system slightly, change the tactics slightly. And then has the brass neck to turn round and have a pop at the fans who are saying they don't want Arsenal to win the league. The reality of it is had he have done this weeks before, we'd already be in the Champions League. If we'd have made the effort against these teams, he wouldn't be being asked these difficult questions about losing, 4 in a row for the first time in 20 odd years. And the reality of it is he can sit there as an outsider as much as he likes and say, it's rivalry, but you should never want to lose a game, whatever else. He doesn't get the rivalry. He doesn't get what Tottenham fans have to live through with Arsenal fans and what we have had to live through. They won the league at our ground. We still taunted about that to this day. You really want to hand them the title, give them something else to gloat about. So no, I think he was out of line. He was out of order. I think the comments he's made have made up for it a little bit since, but it's on him. It's on him. The games we played before, the tactics he put out before, you can't then turn up against City and then, kick off for the fans because we don't particularly want to hand Arsenal the title. So no, I think he was well out of touch and I think he was bang out of order personally.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Dave. David Clark said, I'm 1,000% behind Ange. He was right about Spurs fans being fixated by Arsenal. I supported Spurs since 1961. Apart from when we actually play them, I don't spend 1 millisecond thinking about them. But then has Spurs said we lost 4 in a row and then he decides to change his tactics versus Man City too little too late. So it looks, like the fan base is divided, Winnie, in terms of, changing the tactics and the fact that he did go. I still can't fully figure out exactly the lineup that he went for and who was playing where because it seemed to be quite interchangeable at times. But he did go for a lot more of a defensive midfield option. What were your thoughts on that tactical change and was it interesting to see?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he kind of had the license to be able to mess around the tactics of the team a little bit, even though there was obviously still a lot, there would have been a lot of question behind it. If he'd have thrown the under-21s out, then he would have been questioned heavily, even though we wouldn't have been bothered as fans because of, the consequences of what it would have meant for other teams. But yeah, I mean, I think in terms of like Van der Ven at left back, I think he was kind of forced into that change because there was no way that Emerson Royal could have played the game for Spurs essentially or started another game for Spurs at left back. So yeah, it was it was just one of them where I must admit, I looked at the lineup and thought, yeah, it is what it is now. I'm not really bothered like what happens, who plays, or I just want to see like a little bit of what I haven't seen in the previous games was just a little bit of heart, just like that the players actually gave a shit, and I think that's what we kind of saw a bit. I know obviously people will say otherwise about the performance and stuff. I thought it was generally okay. We went toe to toe with the best team in the world, so to speak. But in terms of the tactics and the changes, I think it was a time to mess around with things, and that's exactly what he did. And I think it was quite good, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely. I did like the tactics that that we saw, Callum, and the changes to the team that we did see. And as when he said that there was quite a lot of fight in that game, but I'm not too bothered about the Man City game in as a whole. But why did we see such a fight from our players in this game? Such a willingness from the first minute to get the ball back, to win the ball high up. Like I was panicking the first 10 minutes. I thought we're going to go and win this game. We're going to beat City. Because in reality we could have done, but what's caused that in a game in which, as I said, the fans didn't want us to win anyway?
Do you know? In all honesty, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Whether it's Andrew's proper ripped into them, whether they maybe got a bit of spirit after the Burnley game, but I don't know how they would have done because even that wasn't a brilliant performance. Maybe because some of them thought they were playing for their Spurs careers. There's not one answer to it. And I think, like what everyone has said, that there was such a point to be proven here that if we put the pressure on ourselves to stop Arsenal winning the league, this game has to be lost. And yet it was the complete polar opposite of that from the players. But it was such a difficult game where, like you said, Bentancur had a great shot in the first 5 minutes. We had plenty of chances. We played free-flowing football. We didn't look like we needed any sort of kick up the backside, which we would have hoped for this game. But it's just, why couldn't this be the last 6 games instead of 1 game and a half a game, or over the last 3 games against Burnley, Sheffield, and then City when there is a point to prove. So I honestly don't think there's one answer to it, mate. And I think that maybe they saw and riled up in the press conference. Maybe that influenced them. Maybe Mr. Levy came down off his out of cloud 9 and came down and said something to them. I honestly don't know where we sit with this, but they looked up for it. It's just this was the wrong time to do it now. It should have been all the way through. And I don't think it's just these last 6 weeks that we've been shit. We have genuinely been shit probably since January and all that. Even when we had the injury crisis, we were playing better with our standing utility centre-back pairing of left Ben Davies and the only dog shit Brazilian fullback in the world who can't play as a fullback for some reason. So it's one of them where it's a bigger problem that we have had, and it just seems that in City, because we always beat them at Spurs, that maybe they just thought, oh fuck, they're here for the taking. Let's see what we can do. But
yeah, Dave, I want to talk about a kind of another bit really quickly. Like, let's say we got on won that game and beat City. Let's say like this wasn't an important game whereby Arsenal, don't potentially win the league if we do win. Like, surely it's an absolute masterstroke from Ange Postecoglou. But if that happens in the scenario that it was, and Arsenal do go on and win the league, it's an absolute disaster stroke, isn't it? Like, I find it really difficult. Like, how did he manage to motivate the players so much in a game that matters nothing compared to games against Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, and games that mattered a lot more? Because he talks about top 4, and I'm not getting at Ange, right? Everyone knows I love Ange, but like he talks a lot about like finishing as high as you can and all the rest of it, and trying to actually achieve something. Well, as you said, like if we'd have tried in the last 3 or 4 games prior to that, we would have been in a position where we could have achieved something. We didn't have to worry about beating Man City. But how does that happen where he can't potentially get them up for a game like against Arsenal, but you can against City?
I don't even know, to be honest. I think it's I think the players probably didn't want to let him down in that way, in the way he was talking in the press conferences before. You know, he didn't want to let them down and him down as their manager or whatever else, or look like they were rolling over kind of thing. But I mean, let's be honest, that's Son 1-on-1. He scores that every week, mate.
Yeah.
Every week. So for me, you know, I think it's more of a case of they did what they had to do to make it look like they were up for it without going that extra mile, if that makes sense. But it's a worry, mate. Like Callum's right, our form since January has been horrendous. It's been so bad, you know. But the problem is, like I said to you before, is there's no accountability from Ange, and that annoys me, you know, about the players he's picking and things like that. So, look, it's all hypotheticals. Everyone talks about how Villa lost today, and if we'd have beaten City and then we won today, we'd have been in the Champions League. The reality of it is we wouldn't have, because if we'd have beaten City, Villa would have tried today. They wouldn't have partied midweek, you know.
We was actually in Champions League, weren't we? We had full spot 8 weeks ago, didn't we? And it was only Villa catching up to us, and it's our own fault for it. It's not anyone else's. It's our own fault. Simple.
No, that's the thing. Like I said to you before, if we'd have actually put some effort in against Liverpool, against Arsenal, against Newcastle, you know, against Chelsea was dog shit. You know, it was awful.
Fulham game as well.
You know, so the reality of it is we have to say, you know, we just weren't good enough. But at the end of the day, I'll take 5th place all day long. Arsenal win fuck all, we win fuck all. Happy days.
Yeah. Well, 100%. And we will talk about, you know, where we finished and where we go on from here. But Harry, it was interesting to see in that game against City, like players putting their bodies on the line as well. Like I was impressed, you know, but also annoyed at the same time with Dragusin, for example, just like throwing himself in the way, and I'm screaming at the telly like, no, like we don't need you to. Like, this is the only game we don't need to see this from you. But do you think we're ever going to see the likes of? I know I've piped on about this for a long time, but the likes of a back 5 or back 3, whichever way you want to call it, because I think, you know, the likes of Dragusin, Romero, and Van de Ven together in the middle would be a force. I don't think we necessarily need, you know, a more 2 sitting players plus 1 attacking midfielder. We can result in having 1 and 1. But what are your thoughts on that?
Firstly, on the City game, before I get to that, you know, it was a horrible game, I think, for so many Spurs fans. But it sounded like kind of weird feeling in the stomach when City scored. Part of me was really angry and wanted us to, because we've been so good. But part of me was like, yes, Arsenal going to win the title. I was proper split. It felt really weird the whole evening, the whole build-up seemed to drag forever. I'm just glad it's gone. And as you said, Luke, you know, earlier, it's gone really quickly, you know, on the back end of that, which, you know, I'm not going to complain. Overall, I think it was the outcome we all wanted. But on a back 3, back 5, you know, I saw some shaking their heads, and you know, I'm not surprised, because we know that it's not going to change. Should it change for me personally? Yes. Because I think that with the players we've got in the system, a back 3 would benefit us more. We have 2 full backs when they're fit that are more attacking minded. We have a really, really solid back 3. We're looking into bringing a full centre back. For me, you only really do that if you play with the 3 centre backs. So it's all good having healthy competition, but you don't have players on the bench where they want minutes. Because Dragusin, let's be honest with you, he could go to quite a few clubs and get a lot more minutes than he is right now at Tottenham. You know, he could go to Bayern Munich, he could go to Real Madrid and still get more minutes than he is getting now. There's no doubt about that. But I would personally want to see it. I don't see why not. I think our midfield's really struggled. So maybe take 1 out of that midfield. At the same time, the attack struggled. So we don't bring in the players we want in the summer. Then perhaps we switch to a 2 up front, because that allows more flexibility. You haven't necessarily got a tight position, if you like. They've got more movement. I think that suit players like Son and Brennan Johnson, even Kulusevski in that too. And he can also, Kulusevski, when Porro's injured, play that right-hand side, because there's a lot of attacking responsibility. So there's a lot of, I think, pros that come with it. Will we see it? No,
fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. David Clark has said the process that most of these players are not mentally strong enough. We left Villa Park after a 4-0 victory, leaving them devastated and us with the advantage. But then our players' mental weakness lost the top 4. I think a lot is being spoken about Ange Postecoglou because of the comments that he's made, but not enough is being mentioned about the players. So that's my personal thoughts on it. But at the same time, everybody has to be accountable, players and managers. Talking about that, Mr. Winnie, you had a good week this week because we had our score predictions, and I went for a 3-0 City win. Winnie went for a 2-0 City win. Dave 4-0 City win. Callum 3-2 Spurs win, and Harry a 3-1 Man City win. So all of us, apart from Callum, got 1 point. Apart from Winnie, who was 1 point behind. Oh no, we were level on points. Were we last week? Anyway, whatever happened.
Yeah.
Oh no, whatever happened. Winnie went 2 points ahead with the correct score. Oh yeah, we were level on points. You got 3, I got 1.
Yeah.
Left it all down to the last game of the season to see what happens. Harry's on 27, Dave on 23, and Callum on 22. So the relegation battle is still underway into the last game of the season as well. But before we move on, I just want to shout out quite a few people. So in the comments, please do let us know who you are, where you're commenting from. And thank you very much for Odomian90 for the follow on Twitch. So really big thank you for that. Thanks for the follow, and I hope you enjoy it. If you're watching on YouTube or on Twitter, make sure you head over to YouTube, click the subscribe button. We're now over 900 subscribers, so 100 subscribers away from our end of season target, which is 1,000 subscribers. So please do go over there. There's a lot of you watching at the moment. So if you are on Twitter, for example, go over there, click the subscribe. It's free to do so, and it really does help us out. And if you're listening on any podcast platform, hit the pause button now, go over to YouTube, click the subscribe button, and then come back and listen to the rest of the show, where we will be talking about Sheffield United game today. Right. Now you've all done that, let's get into it. Winnie, first of all, how does it feel being top of the league?
It feels like I feel like I'm where I belong to be. That's the best way I can put it. It took me a while to claw back that gap because there was a bit of a gap. Some people could almost say you've bottled it, just like Arsenal. But yeah, look, it is what it is. It feels good to be at the top. I'm not going to lie.
Amazing. Well, let's see how long that lasted for you, Winnie.
Spoiler alert.
Oh dear. Anyway, right, Winnie, I'll come back to you. So in today's game, Ange changed the tactics around a little bit again. Took Højbjerg out, brought Kulusevski in, and in the first 5 minutes, it was quite clear Kulusevski seemed to be playing through the middle, allowing James Maddison then to. I looked at it myself as like a false 9 for Kulusevski, and then allowed Maddison to then roam around the pitch, kind of play wherever he wants. But right thing to do in a game against bottom of the league Sheffield United.
Yeah, I mean, like what in a game that means nothing to neither side. I mean, I know obviously people can say if we hadn't have won and Chelsea had have won, we'd have dropped into the conference. But like and I think there were still stipulations because obviously if Man City, I could stand corrected, but I think if Man City beat Man United, then does that not drop another Europa League spot as well? I think so. Either way, I think regardless, we still would have ended up with Europa League. But I think we needed to win today. But either way, look, it's the time to do it. It was a sunny day. It's the last game of the season. Just let your players play with freedom, and that's what it looked like happened. To be fair, like if you're going to tinker with things now. And let's be honest, we know Kulusevski could play centrally. As like a false 9, I wasn't 100% sure how he would do. But, definitely more centrally is where I think he's most effective. And I, as you know, I'm a huge fan of James Maddison, and given him the freedom to just roam around it's massive because, him receiving the ball on the half turn, turning off with it and, like spreading the ball down a crossfield ball to either wing and stuff like that. So yeah, it worked well. And I mean, obviously I was unsure about Kulusevski as a false 9, but quite clearly, which we'll get onto, it obviously worked. So it was obviously a bit of a masterstroke.
Yeah, it's interesting that, Harry, because Son moves out to the left. People have been saying that actually, obviously, that's his best position. We need a central striker. So it's interesting to know in a game where we have to win because of the Chelsea result and so on. Ange decided to change it quite dramatically in the centre forward department, but turned out to be the right move.
What, City or Sheffield United?
We've moved on from City. It's always good. So Sheffield United, today's game.
Sorry, just checking because he changed a lot of things against City. I mean, he changed against Sheffield United. But I think, when he's spot on in terms of neither side really had a lot to play for. I think that it was an expected thing to see, an attacking change in Kulusevski coming in. For Højbjerg, extra midfielder, made sense against City. They play through the lines. And I think, do you know what? I think we got it tactically right against Man City. You could get tactically wrong against Sheffield United. You could be awful, but you would still win the game, and that is the difference. I thought, we were good, we were sharp. But the reality is that Sheffield United had, before we scored, had 2 chances that should be going in the back of the net, and that's what Manchester City does. And we find ourselves 2-0 down. So, the positive is we win the game, we keep a clean sheet. But I'm not going to sit here and go, wow, 10 out of 10 performance, because it really wasn't. But we got the win, we got the clean sheet, 5th place, all would have taken at the start of the year. So all is happy. But tactics, I think, will become a bigger issue next year, because we've struggled to cope with 1 game a week. And that Arsenal game proved we struggled to cope with 1 game, 1 game in 2 weeks, let alone, I don't know how we're going to cope with 2 in 1 week, but we'll worry about that in August.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's where this summer is important in terms of signings. And, we will be discussing this throughout the summer window in terms of signings and what kind of signings we should make and the players that we're linked with or that we have signed. We'll talk about all of that on our Sunday shows because we will continue throughout the summer. But Callum, Sheffield United started well, and Spurs, unlike they did against Manchester City, started really, really badly. And Brereton Diaz, who's a quality player, had a couple of really, really good chances for Sheffield United. But we had one attempt at goal, and Kulusevski, who for some reason David Clark doesn't like in the comments, but scored. Why are we like this? Like, why are we starting so badly against Sheffield United and so well against City?
Well, I love how you've just pretty much given me 1 true answer and 1 false answer. Yes, we started shit like we did against Burnley. Ben Brereton Diaz is an absolutely atrocious player, has been useless for Sheffield, was useless for...
I don't think you can class somebody useless that's come in and scored, I would say, about 9 goals for them since he's come in. I think that's decent.
He's got like 3, I think, something like that. It's been...
No.
He's on like the same level as Werner. He's not a good player. He's really not good. But no, Spurs started out against Sheffield like we did against Burnley last weekend. We let them have too much of the ball. We let them control it. They definitely had the aspects. But like you said, Kulu just popped out of nowhere and picked up a nice pass to just slide it past their goalkeeper. It definitely turned it on its head because I think we controlled the game for probably another 14, 15 minutes after that until Sheffield had any sort of aspect towards goal. But I think in every game this year, apart from maybe City and against Villa, we've started crap. That's the thing. Since January, we can't get going. We don't know how to. And even against a dead rubber team like Sheffield, we don't do ourselves any favours whatsoever. And they could have easily been probably 2-0 up within that first 10 minutes if we hadn't got our act together, to be honest, mate.
Yeah,
so it's difficult.
Fair enough. Look, he's got 6 goals and 1 assist. I don't think that's bad going. A team like Sheffield United who scored 30 goals pretty much the entire season. And he's only been in since January. So,
well, should we go and get him then as our new number 9?
No, I mean he plays for Villarreal. Like that's where he plays, isn't it? Like he's all right player. Like he was a championship player.
If he was that good, then he would have kept Sheffield United up. Big players there for the big moments.
You can't keep an entire team up, Harry.
Well, you look at West Ham. Kudus has dragged them through, kept them in the top half.
Nonsense. Kudus has scored a very small fraction of goals for the entire team. He doesn't.
He'd get into any team in the Premier League, though, and that's the difference. Whereas he wouldn't. He would get into any other team. So,
I mean, to be fair, Brereton Diaz couldn't even get in the Villarreal team. That's why they sent him out on loan. To be honest, he was a free transfer that was low risk. Did sweet FA for them for 6 months, and then he's done.
But all jokes aside, he suits the Championship. He suits the upper end of the Championship. I think that will be him. He
was a top player in the Championship when he played for what was it, Blackburn or something like that?
Yeah,
wasn't
Blackburn.
it?
Yeah, something like that.
But it's kind of the polar opposite of Gyökeres. He went to Sporting, has done brilliantly, but then Brereton Diaz has gone to Villarreal and done nothing within it. So it's just two players who were top quality strikers in the Championship, but one made the step up, one hasn't.
Yeah. Dave, I want to talk about because for some reason, as I said, David Clark in the comments isn't a big fan of him playing false nine, but he's come in today and scored twice. Like, what more can you ask for?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kulu's had a pretty poor season overall compared to last season. But then again, it's like I said, it's new manager, new system, new tactics. It does take a bit of adjusting to. I like Kulu as a player. I always have done. I don't think he's as bad as what some fans make out. I don't think he's as good as what some fans make out. But he's all right. You know, he's done his job today. Played that false nine. So yeah, I can't really say too much about it. To be fair, it is what it is. We know what we get with Kulu, and what we see today is the better version of Kulu. You know, so he's never going to be a world beater in terms of pace, but he's got good ball control, brings other people into the game. So sometimes he suits exactly what we need, and today was one of those days.
Yeah. So here's another question for you, then, Dave. What's his best position?
I think it depends on who we're playing, because he does suit that false nine quite well. Because he's not the quickest, but sometimes he has the ability to absolutely rinse people on the right hand side or the left hand side or wherever it may be. So I don't know. I'm not a football manager, so I wouldn't like to make that call. But I think a lot of it depends on who we're playing, what fullbacks he's up against. Because he's up against somebody who's lightning fast, there's not really much he can do. So yeah, it all depends.
He's a good squad option. He's a good squad option for you, but I don't think he's going to be. Well, there's a lot of players in our squad who aren't guaranteed starters come next season, is there? And like David Clark said, he probably wouldn't win us trophies, but he's a good option to have there, and it kind of bangs the same drum that Harry's been banging for Werner for the last 6 months as well.
Yeah, the only difference is, I suppose, Callum, is that we already have Kulusevski and we don't have to spend any money on it. But
we did spend 40 million on him, didn't we? Though last summer, theoretically, so including the
but I think when he came in, we got Champions League football, didn't he? So I think that paid for itself, doesn't it? In terms of not obviously him himself didn't get a Champions League football. My point is that season we got Champions League.
Oh, he's a key part of it.
Yeah,
he did well. I just want to know, Harry. Want to know your thoughts as you spoke up just then. What is due down to his loss of form? Would you say? Because if he's a big part of getting Champions League football under Conte, what's down to his lack of form now?
I don't think he suits the system, to be honest with you. And it sounds crazy to say a player suits a counter-attacking system when he doesn't have pace. But Kulusevski is a very good decision maker, very good at holding the ball up, and very good at being that, that final pass. And we're lacking at the moment there to send someone away. So he did really suit the system and was brought in for Antonio Conte for a reason. And that is simply why. I think that he's been bad this season, to be honest with you. I think he's been really poor, and I think that's why we've shuffled positions. He's been poor on the left, poor on the right, poor as a number 10. But Dave's right in terms of it depends on the opponent you're playing. If you're playing someone like a Sheffield United or a low block team, even as a number 10, I think he's great, allowed freedom of the park to create, or as a false nine. But if you're against someone like Manchester City, where you're going to have less possession, I'd want him on the right for his crossing. I think his crossing ability is great, but he just takes too long to think about it, and that's my problem. So for me, it remains to be unclear whether he's right for the Premier League or not. He's a quality player, but he requires that split second longer than someone like De Bruyne or Bruno Fernandes will, where the pass is played before they're one step ahead of the game, if you like. Whereas Kulusevski's 2 steps behind. That's the difference. He's got the ability of those players, to be honest with you, for such a young age, such a young head. I think there's a real quality in there, but he's just not a quick decision maker. If he makes decisions at all. So that is the real problem for me. I don't know exactly what's been down to the loss of his form, but I don't think he suits the system at all. But someone like Johnson, who I like, I don't think he's in the best of form as we speak. He's not getting the goals at the moment. He's not getting the assists, and his touch looks really off. So I think that in the summer, I think there's some shifting that needs to be done. Also keep some players that I call impact players that we have a lot of. But we need some regular first-team players, and I think I look over my shoulder, Crystal Palace under Glasner since he's come in, and there's quite a few. We should go on a massive hunt for that Crystal Palace team, because there's 4 or 5 players that I have that get straight in this team for me, so that'd be where I'd aim my focus on in the summer.
Yeah, fair enough. I think like if I look at Kulusevski's first goal today, and I look at the quality of finishing in that, like people can turn around and say that's an easy finish. Winnie, you play striker, right? To be able to get it pinpoint into the corner where the goalkeeper can't reach it, it's the only position he can get it. He scores in, and it's a great finish, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was. If I'm completely honest, like I say, I was out today, so I didn't catch the game live, but I watched the highlights. And I must admit, I knew who scored the goals, and I knew when they went in because I was following it on Twitter, and I didn't really see the goals, but I didn't expect that type of finish from him, to be perfectly honest. That was like a very calm, calm, cool number 9 that put that finish in. So clearly look, Kulusevski, we know what he's capable of. Technically, he's a very, very gifted footballer. And I think sometimes he maybe lacks the footballing brain because he makes some very silly decisions on the ball, when he'll turn one way when he should have turned the other way, or he's not got that like cutting edge to put a defense splitting ball through necessarily, but raw talent, he's got it all. So yeah, it was a great finish, like technically very, very difficult finish to get it, across the goalkeeper so early straight into that far corner. So it was or maybe it's something we can see from him in the future, but for me, I definitely want to see a nice out and out striker or number 9 sitting in that position as opposed to Kulusevski, without a shadow of a doubt. But I don't necessarily think Kulusevski on the wing is his best position. So this is maybe something now Ange needs to think about over the summer and maybe think about repositioning a few people. But maybe Kulusevski can rival Madders for like a number 10 spot. I don't know.
Yeah, the thing that he does like, Ange, I think, is interchangeable players as well. And we've seen that this week. Kulusevski being able to play right wing, left wing, number 10 also as a false 9. But quickly, Winnie, I'll come back to you on this one. Thoughts on Pedro Porro's goal? He's scored a few good goals this season, hasn't he?
He is. I'm going to make a very bold statement here. I don't know if I can think of a better right back in the Premier League, technically, because he's someone who could. I believe. Who then? You're going to say Trent Alexander-Arnold?
No, probably. Who's been playing at right back for City?
I don't think
left back for City's been Guardiola. Right back's been Walker.
I don't really include
that question required an answer, did it, Callum?
But pardon?
I thought that was I didn't think you wanted an answer on that. Who plays right back? I thought it was too obvious.
No, he couldn't think of who.
Yeah, I was genuinely being stupid at the moment. No, I was genuinely. I said my statement, and then my mind just went, "You're blank. You're just done."
Do you know what? Right, Winnie, you are kind of right, but the thing with Porro is he can't bloody defend. That's the problem.
I don't think he's as bad. He like for example, people will say, like, when I say he's the best, for me, he's probably the best right back I could think of in the Premier League. We're not talking about like right back Premier League right backs. They're not gifted with low.
I think I agree with you.
People will talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold. Okay, going forward, he's fantastic, but he can't defend. He's yeah, exactly. He's worse than Porro at defending. I think Porro can defend. I just think for me, technically, I really like. I'm going to say I really, really like our defence. I don't think we need to do anything to it in the summer. I really don't. I think providing the 4 of them stay fit, and obviously we've got Dragostin as well in the background and coming in if we need. We've seen he can come in. I'm a massive, massive fan of our defence. I think we've got everything. We've got like everything we need. We've got like the raw talent. We've got people like Van der Ven who's come in who can offer so much. Like we can play this high line, and we know that he can sweep in behind and pick things up. Whether inverted fullbacks is a good idea, some people like it, some people don't.
Winnie, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because I completely agree with you with the defence, but why do you think we're conceding so many goals this season? Is it down to like the midfield not protecting the defence?
Midfield.
Yeah, I think if we had a world class number 6 just sitting there, just protecting our back 4, but do you know what I'll tell you? What I tell you, our problem is. And a lot of our goals, as we know, have come from, goals conceded have come from set pieces. If you look at set pieces last season, who was the one man that was clearing probably 90% of them?
Harry
Kane. Harry Kane. As simple as that. Harry Kane
would clean his own house.
Harry Kane would sit on that front post, and he would genuinely be clearing at least 90% of those corners, and we don't have that anymore. So yeah, I think it's probably a world class number 6 we're missing to protect the back four, but I think we're just missing that presence of Harry Kane in there to clear it. It's as simple as that.
I'd be interested to know, sorry, Winnie, who David Clark does like in the Spurs squad.
You need some
He's also-
positivity, David. We're back in Europe. We would have taken it at the start of the season. Come
I
on.
would
I
like
think
to
it's
know.
just anyone called David is negative. That's just the way it goes, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like to know, David, who you think is better than Porro in the Premier League. That would be quite an interesting debate. And tell
Wait,
me
hold
why
on.
you think they're better.
He's going to come with about 20 names, isn't he?
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on. And let's talk about the fact that before we do that, there's a really important part that I forgot that we need to go through. And that is the score predictions for today's game against Sheffield United.
Oh,
So going into the game, I'm building this up, lads. Going into the game, this was the scores. This was the table, sorry. Winnie at the top, Luke, Harry Dave, then Callum. These are the scores for today's game. I went for a 3-0 Spurs win. Winnie went for a 2-1 Spurs win.
Oh,
Dave
no.
went for a 4-0 Spurs win. Callum went for a 3-1 Spurs win. And just to
So close.
spice it up, Harry went for a 2-2 draw. I got 3 points. Winnie got 1 point. Dave got 1
Boo.
point. Callum got 1 point. And Harry got no points, which means we have a tie at the top of the leaderboard. Myself and Winnie are on 35 points. Harry on 27. Dave on
I'll take that.
24. And Callum relegated on
Whee.
23 points.
Mate, you've been relegated to Wednesday, mate. Keep it down. I'll probably be joining you after this.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
after an entire season of predicting the scores for every game, including cup competitions, we never actually ever got to a point where we got a winner. So what I'd like to do, we've got two options. We can either leave it as it is, and Winnie and I can be joint winners moving into the next season.
No,
Or
Boring.
I'll ask everybody, there's quite a few of you watching, so before you do anything else, make sure you subscribe and all the good stuff. But what I want to know in the chat now, let us know how this should go. Do we go on alphabetical order and for some reason use Winnie's first name, which happens to be higher in the alphabet than my name, so Winnie wins on a technicality? Or do we say that we predict the score against Newcastle, which is on Wednesday in Melbourne for some reason, and me and Winnie will predict the score each. The one closest to that wins.
Failing that, I've got a good suggestion. I genuinely don't know.
I think a coin cost. I think just do a coin cost. To be
No,
honest.
I could be.
what's your FPL positions?
I mean,
No.
is anyone going to genuinely watch the game on Tuesday night, to be fair, anyway? It's like at 11:15 at night, so I don't even think any of us will watch
We don't need to watch it to know what the score is.
Do you know what we should
Frozen.
do? And
Yeah.
Thomas is right, because you can't decide. Then you two just go straight to the bottom, and with third place wins. I don't know who is third place, but we go with that.
No. I'll tell you what we should do. What we genuinely should do. We should look. It'll just take a
What's
little
an
bit of
in?
research.
What's an
We
in?
should see
Who picked the most?
scores.
Hmm.
Who predicted
Yeah, I
the
agree
most?
with that.
The correct score, the most correct
I reckon it'd be
score.
Luke.
Yeah, but then how do we know? Because I haven't got them all written down for the whole season.
Well, you
Yeah,
got,
We've
you've got,
got back every episode.
yeah, you've got to go back and watch every episode over the next 2 days, and we'll announce the winner. You've got nothing else to do with your time, so you might as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we'll see what people come up with. We'll see what people come up with first, and then I think if we get no decent suggestions, I think the best thing is it'll take a bit of time, but we'll find it that way.
If that's the way, I'll concede and lose because I'm not doing it. I'm not sitting there.
There we go then.
Oh, no,
Oh,
Jay,
do you know what we
Jay,
should do
piss
actually,
off.
Winnie? We should
Jay,
play.
pissed
We
off.
should play one game on FIFA on Tuesday night against each other,
Oh,
and whoever
no.
wins.
There you go then. Sorted.
Winnie, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
I'm not in trouble. Don't you worry.
Jay said, "I think we should do a forfeit." It's Callum lost. Maybe wearing an Arsenal
Yes,
shirt.
absolutely.
Bollocks.
No,
I mean, if
I
You know what
Paul
we
wants
should
to
do?
buy
We
an
should
Arsenal
make
shirt-
Callum, because he come last, go out for a date with a cardboard cutout.
Yes.
Who off? Kai Havertz.
Just kidding, anyone. Goes on a date with a cardboard cutout.
Arteta. No, let's do Arteta. That'd be
Nah.
a good one.
I'm not going out with Lego heads. Sod that for a fact.
Anyway,
He's
let us
too,
know in
he's
the
too
comments.
scared to get
and-
stood up.
Yeah, let us know what you want us to do in the comments, and we'll do whatever
Only you,
that is. But,
only you winning, mate.
but we'll be back next season with with more score predictions as well. Sorry, I was just reading David Clark's comment, who said
Yeah.
whoever said Porro is the best fullback in the Premier League loses.
Yeah.
I'm David. I'm still waiting for you to come back to me for who's better.
He said, to be fair on him, he said, no
Carl,
need.
it'd be Carl
Hard
Walker.
fact.
It'd be Carl Walker then Porro, but I get your point, Winnie. He's been very good.
I don't count City players.
Oh, anyway, let's move on and let's talk a little bit about FPL, Dave. I haven't really given you any warning, so I'll hand over to you whenever you're ready if you want to talk about FPL.
Yeah, so obviously season came to an end today. The final scores haven't been predicted in our league yet, although I took a gamble in another league to try and win another league, and I think it's cost me our league by 2 points to be confirmed, which I'm gutted about, but there's always next season, which kind of brings us nicely on, Luke, to next season. So we've been teasing a bit of an announcement over the last few days on the show. Luke, what's wrong with your camera? You look really like... Anyway, yes, we've been teasing it. I can't even see
the
you,
sun's
mate.
coming, mate. It's sunny.
Feel like you're in a cobweb.
Close the blind. Close the bloody
They
blind.
don't close fully because my plants on my windowsill get smushed.
Well,
Right, anyway,
throw
yeah,
the
so we've been
plant
teasing it.
somewhere, for Christ's sake.
We've been teasing a bit of an announcement, and that announcement is next season I will be starting an FPL show. FPL, which is actually going to stand for Fat Pod Lads, extra time, under the Park Lane podcast banner. It's going to be me and a few of my friends who are very, very good at FPL. We're going to be streaming every week next season. Starting from game week 1, obviously answering all your questions about FPL. I'm going to be starting a little mini league, some prizes, etc. I'm going to be running through that as well, which we'll talk about more next season. But yeah, I'm really, really excited. It should be really good. The people that I've got coming on, like I said, they are very, very good at FPL. They're better than I am. A couple of them finished a lot higher than I did this season. So yeah, it's exciting. We're looking at Tuesday nights. Was it Luke? Tuesdays, Luke?
Yeah, 7:00.
Tuesday night, 7:00, and it'll be a good topic. We'll be talking all things FPL, talking about differentials each week, chip usage, what I'm doing one week, what somebody else is doing the next week, etc. Answering all your questions. I'm generally very, very excited. So yeah, it's another big step for the podcast. So tune in next season. Fat Pod Lads, extra time, FPL. It's exciting. So yeah, I'm very, very, very excited about this one.
100%. It's going to be a massive, show that FPL is such a huge thing, and I'm so bad at FPL, and I just need somebody to say to me, maybe you should pick Mateta because Aston Villa have been on the piss this week, and so he's going to bag a hat trick. Yeah,
I think I pretty much said that, didn't I?
Yeah.
During the week, but no, it's going to be exciting. I'm not going to pretend that I'm some sort of FPL master, but between the group of lads that will be joining on, it'll be me. You'll meet the others, be Russell, Rossi, Indy, Bugden. We'll all be on next season. A good bunch of lads who are very good at FPL, answering your questions, giving you the advice you need. Obviously, a lot of these sites and podcasts, they charge you for stuff like this. We're never going to do anything like that. You're going to come along, get the free info, join our mini league, and show the hosts up. That's the plan anyway. So yeah, we're really excited.
Are you smelling fresh now, Winnie? Are you smelling fresh now, mate?
Yeah, I just felt a little bit icky, mate. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, the look on your face made you look so uncomfortable. It was unbelievable.
I don't like spraying deodorant. Makes me feel a bit weird.
Anyway, something wrong with you two. It should be really good this, Dave. And also, that's adding to our Sunday show, which will continue to be on, which, as we said before, Wes is going to be joining us on Sundays. Harry's got his show on Fridays, doing all things Premier League. And Dave has got his show on Tuesdays to discuss all things FPL. Now, that kind of moves us on to our FIFA, because I know Jay is probably going to say, what? That's going to be a show on Tuesdays. That's going to come across FIFA streams. We should still be able to do it, whether it moves to 8:30. We can decide around that. Like, the show is flexible. We're flexible. So we'll be able to move that to another date. Just not Thursdays, because Thursdays will be Europa League, Winnie. How excited are you to be back in a European competition?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, I am, and I genuinely like the conference. Okay, when we first went into it, we were like, look, it's European football. It's a competition we can win. Unfortunately, we didn't have a manager that was that arsed in that competition at the time. Whether Ange would be in the Conference League now, I don't know whether he'd be that arsed. But look, the Europa League, it's a good competition, and don't forget we've got the brand new format, which I thought only applied to the Champions League. If I'm honest, I didn't realise it applied across all of the UEFA competition. So yeah, like it's going to be quite interesting. You know, like instead of having a boring little 4-team league where you play each other twice and you've got a naff team at the bottom, you've got a decent team. Because I'm assuming will we be in pot one? I don't know. This is the question. I don't know how the seedings are going to work. Obviously, it goes on coefficient and stuff like that. I'd imagine we should still be in the.
Go on, David. We can get him on next season.
No, yeah, I'm still waiting for names, Dave. You haven't produced any names, mate. Like, give me a name other than Kyle Walker that is better, and I'll have a debate with you. That's absolutely fine. But yeah, so the new format's going to be quite interesting, and I do believe if we take it seriously, it's a competition. Who?
Gusto.
Bullshit. No chance.
Reece James.
Bullshit.
Not this season, Dave.
Absolute bullshit.
I'm just throwing names at you, Winnie. You said.
I'm saying bullshit.
You not mean me.
I'm saying bullshit.
Wan-Bissaka.
Wow. Okay. We'll leave that there, shall we?
Do you know what? The only one that would be Ben White for Arsenal, to be fair, has been really good this year.
No, we don't talk about Arsenal on this channel.
No, you have to be honest. No, you have to be honest.
No, we don't.
Be Ben White.
No, we don't. No, we definitely don't.
Could always throw in Tommy Asu if you want to as well.
No.
Could have had him instead of Emerson Royale. That would have gone down well.
I wouldn't have wanted
Look
either.
back in his cobweb.
I'm trying to move a chair in the way. There we go.
Luke's officially going back to the light.
I know. Winnie, I completely agree. I think this format is going to be really cool, and I think it gives a better way of playing better teams at earlier stages in the competition, and it's going to make the games more exciting.
4 at home, 4 away. Like there's going to be a lot of games to be able to watch on a Thursday night for a change, and this whole league format's going to make it quite interesting. Because you could go into the last couple of games sitting in that middle spot, which is like the knockout or the kind of like playoff knockout phase. And then 2 wins can take you up into the top half, which is automatic qualification. It's going to be quite interesting to see. And I'm quite excited because I genuinely thought it was just the Champions League. But now I know it's actually the Europa League's taken on the same format. I'm quite excited for it. And I do think if we take it seriously, we could win it if we wanted to.
Absolutely. You won't have teams in the Championship League dropping down as well. So
they don't. Right, exactly. So that's massive. That's huge, actually, that they have no Champions League dropouts. That's massive.
Yeah. It's going to be exciting. And, we'll be here to discuss everything with everybody next season. But as far as I'm aware, there's one last thing I want to talk about, which is next season. So we've got one last show next week, which I want everyone to be a part of. I said Harry's last show on the Sunday show. So we're going to make it a big one for Harry, and we'll talk all things about this season, your highs, your lows, everything that you want to discuss, and best signings, all of those types of things. And then we'll be off for 2 weeks. We're having 2 weeks because I'm going on holiday, and thought we'd give everyone 2 weeks off, and then we'll be back for summer fun times.
I'll even let you talk about Højbjerg next week, Harry. How about that?
Oh, fucking hell!
Well, you'll be surprised. I think we should sell him, so you'd be very surprised to hear that. But I'll save that for next week.
Oh my God!
There you go.
Bombshell.
Only because of the way we play. Very reluctant.
And on that bombshell, we might as well end the show. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Harry, you can start. How can everyone find you?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on once again. You can find me there, Harry Scarf 22, across all socials, your TikTok, your X, your Instagram, you name it. My own channel, Scarfy Spurs, that recently reached 2,000 subscribers. That was great because I wanted to get to it by the end of the season, and done it with about 12, 13 hours to go. So it was a bit, smash and grab, whatever you call it, but it was really tight. I'm glad that we done it. So thank you very much for that. Obviously, make sure to like and subscribe to Part Lane Podcast and get to 1,000. And obviously next week will be my last show. But
on a Sunday, just on a Sunday, mate.
On a Sunday. So 7 days from now. But no, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed my penultimate show.
Amazing. Callum, how can everyone find you?
Cheers as always, mate, and cheers to everyone. Callum Stubbs 97 on well, X, as I keep getting it wrong every week. So, yeah,
Just call it
and
Twitter.
yeah, it just confuses the hell out of me, but most stuff does anyway, so it's all right.
Amazing. Winnie, how can everyone find you?
Yeah, Winnie1991 on Twitter, and obviously on here every Sunday every Sunday if I can, and also every FIFA stream every week. So just want to say, keep your eyes peeled for Tuesday at 8 o'clock. That is a confirmed date as well. I can actually make Tuesday this week, so
Believe it when we see it. Believe it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna get my hopes
Maybe
up.
10 past, 8:15. It'll be just
We
gone
actually-
8 o'clock.
Yeah, around about 8 o'clock. But we actually had we did like me, Luke, and Kirk did like a little unofficial. We didn't stream it yesterday, but we went on, and we was actually really, really good. We should have streamed it because there were some bangers in there. So I think we're just finding our cohesion. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled. Tuesday 8 o'clock for the next episode of Park Lane FC.
Exactly. And Dave, I feel like you're going to have to change your Twitter handle to FPL Dave or something. Go FPL.
Yeah.
Something.
Well, at the moment, right now, I am Park Lane Pod Dave. I probably won't change it, to be fair. I kind of like that name. It works. But you can find me at Park Lane Pod Dave or on X or on the Park Lane Pod Twitter. I am active on there as well. Obviously, I'll still be here Sundays next year. But obviously, I will be doing a little spin-off on Tuesdays, 7 p.m. for Fat Pod Lads FPL, extra time. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And, yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say.
Amazing. So thank you to everyone that's watched, whether that's on Twitter, on Twitch, or on YouTube, and to everybody that listens every single week on podcast platforms as well. Make sure you do head over to all of those, especially YouTube. Hit the subscribe button because every subscriber helps us out, and it is free to do so. Make sure you hit the like button as well and watch the videos all the way through. But you will catch us next Sunday at 7 p.m. here on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And yeah, we'll see you then. Have a good week and a massive come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on.